What's up, YouTubers? It's Ernie, Blerd Without Fear. And this is going to be something that I don't really think I ever really talk about very much on this channel. And we're going to be talking about Spider-Man. But more importantly, we're actually going to be talking about Venom. And to talk about Venom, you have to talk about Spider-Man. So actually I'm taking this opportunity to kind of going back and looking at some of those moments that led up to Eddie Brock getting his hands on what we now know as the symbiote. This is actually one of the ones that was suggested by more than a few of you, Earth's mightiest subscribers. But before we jump in, let me know what comics you'd like to see me make a video on. Sound off in the comments. If this is your first time checking out my channel, consider clicking subscribe so you can become one of Earth's mightiest subscribers and tap that bell button so you know when I post up. So, the birth of Venom. Now, this is a story that's been handled in many different ways. It's been adapted in so many different ways, but I mean, we're not going to touch on any of those. We're not going to touch on the 1990s Spider-Man cartoon version, and we're not going to talk about the Ultimate Spider-Man comic version of it. We're not going to talk about the cartoon Ultimate Spider-Man and all these other different versions. We're not talking about that. We're here to talk about the original recipe version, which dates all the way back to a little story called Secret Wars. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, you mean the one that came out in 2015? No. I'm talking about Marvel's superheroes Secret Wars that came out back in 1984 by Jim Shooter. I'm gonna go ahead and tell you right now, it's not the best story in the world. It's really iconic, and it's crazy and bonkers, and just all over the place. Stuff just happens for no reason, because it was a comic that was based strictly to sell toys. It was that was the whole purpose of it. It was not to tell a good story. It was to accompany a toy line. But I'm not gonna cover any of that story here because, I mean, honestly, I made 3 videos covering that entire story arc. And if you want to check them out, I'm going to post them up at the top right corner. So yeah, you should totes check that out. So when Secret Wars comes to a close, Spidey and all the heroes return to New York, and for the most part, their lives pick up pretty much as per the usual, except for Spider-Man. Spider-Man, when he returns, the public doesn't recognize him, thanks to the new duds, and he's more powerful than ever. Now, before Spidey was on Battleworld, he was already a beast. He was one of Marvel's big guns. I mean, you wouldn't think that from a power set standpoint. You would think, oh, well, what about Wolverine? What about Hulk? What about Thor? What about the X-Men as a whole? What about the Avengers as a whole? Why this one guy? Spider-Man was just that popular, so whenever he was written into something, he always kind of came out on top. In Marvel Superhero Secret Wars, he was capable of single-handedly making the X-Men look foolish. And I'm talking about a roster that included Wolverine, Nightcrawler, Storm, Cyclops, Colossus. He wrecked them. And he even bested characters like Titania and a laundry list of other great feats that he has under his belt. The black suit made things even more interesting. So for one, let's just go ahead and knock these out. Spidey doesn't even have to wear clothes anymore. That's right, naked time, all the time. The black suit makes his clothes for him. He can instantly switch from the black costume to goth kid in like 2 seconds flat. And I get it, you're not impressed, that's fine. Well, his costume also knows what he wants when he wants it. Spitting out random items, from his pockets, like his camera and his house keys with just a thought. Okay, maybe a psychic link is no big deal to you, but his costume even slinks over to him when he's thinking about going out and fighting crime. I mean, that's cool, right? Okay, the real deal is that I get it, y'all are still not impressed. The real deal is that all of his abilities have been amplified. Like, he's harder, better, faster, stronger. Something we learn during a return encounter with the villain Jack-O-Lantern. I mean, he is the foremost authority on Spider-Man's abilities, so yeah, he would know. But I mean, one of the things that he points out is that this Spider-Man is faster, more agile, is able to lift things that he couldn't lift in their previous encounter. This Spider-Man is in God mode right now, which was funny because it felt like he was in God mode before. But yeah, he got the Konami code out and threw in a Game Genie for good measure. Another cool thing too is that he doesn't need the web shooters anymore, which is something he actually does become really dependent on, and it does pop up later in the story. But when he comes back, yeah, the crowd, they don't recognize him. Police don't even believe he's actually Spider-Man, to the point that yeah, he kind of is baffled by it. Throughout Spidey's return, a few beats come up throughout the build-up to Venom. We learn about Aunt May's broken heart thanks to Peter, telling her he's quitting college, which, you know, may not seem like the biggest plot point in the world, you know, if you're if you're a Spider-Man fan. But for the character, it's actually a really big deal because Aunt May has cared for Peter Parker, you know, for the longest time. You know, she wants what's best for him, and she doesn't want him, to quit school because, I mean, you also gotta think that this was written during a time where if you quit college, I mean, you were kind of fucked. It's not like today where, like, you can go to college for, like, a semester or two, or hell, even go all the way and then just, like, just get right up to that, 11th hour and then just decide to quit, and you could probably still find a decent job and make a decent living and be relatively okay. This was one of those times where, like, if you quit school, you were kind of pissing your life away. Or at least in the eyes of society, you were pissing your life away. I personally don't think that's that big of a deal. Full disclosure, never went to college. So there you go. I immediately joined the workforce right after high school. So, I mean, that's the thing. And it causes a rift between Peter Parker and Aunt May that lasts for a long time. Like, I mean, it's not pretty. It's really weird to see, or to read a comic where Peter Parker and Aunt May aren't getting along, and to showcase even further what this symbiote actually does to you. Their falling out gets downright childish, because this is going to come up more later. Another cool thing we get in this comic is we also get the introduction of Spider-Man's most beloved villain in his rogues gallery. No, not the Green Goblin. No. You're talking about Dr. Octopus. No. He was introduced much earlier. Well, what about Scorpion? Yeah, it's gotta be Scorpion, right? Maybe Electro? No. None so as important. We get Puma. Yeah, I know, you're probably thinking, like, who the fuck is Puma? I actually had to look this guy up. I think I've actually seen him in previous Spider-Man stories, or not previous, but I've seen him in, like, later Spider-Man stories. Man, he is honestly kind of a stereotype in, like, so many ways. He's a Native American, first and foremost. And yeah, man, they gave him some of the most stereotypical shit you could give a Native American character, and yeah. Anyway, but I mean, as far as, like, being well written, I mean, he's actually not a bad character. It's just, it's like, man, dude, y'all went there. But yeah, he's constantly being harassed by the Puma, who has been hired by another villain, who we know now as the Rose. And the Rose is one of those characters that, like, I didn't really know a whole lot about when I first read this. I actually don't even remember him. I'm not even joking. I didn't even really know who he was. I actually had to do a little research for this one, and I discovered that the reason why I didn't know who he was is because the Rose is actually not a Spider-Man character per se. It's actually an alias. And this is a character who we will later discover is Richard Fisk. That's right, the Kingpin's son. And he's gone by some other names too. He was once a member of Hydra. He used to go by the name the Schemer, which honestly, by the point that we're going to get to in this video, it's not revealed that he is Richard Fisk. But I think it's a cool thing for you to know as, time progresses throughout the story, because we do see him interact with the Kingpin at various points. You can kind of get the impression that he's trying to overthrow his father. But, that's neither here nor there. Puma starts coming after Spider-Man for everything he's worth, because he's technically tracking him, because he has acute senses, which he can use kind of a part of his Puma spirit animal package. He's got the superhuman grab bag of strength, speed, durability, and all that other stuff. He's also got a healing factor. So, I mean, he's got all that stuff. He's also got claws and fangs. I mean, basically, he's Native American Wolverine. So he kind of stumbles upon Peter Parker while he's in his apartment chilling, and to make matters worse, Mary Jane arrives. And this is the thing you kind of have to know. Peter Parker and Mary Jane, by this particular point in their publication history, they are not together. Spider-Man has been traipsing around with Black Cat, who recently got a power upgrade shortly before this run. Because originally she had no powers, really, but she ended up getting powers to where chief among them was her ability to impose bad luck on other people. And like I said, Mary Jane, she's been hanging around and she's super interested in getting back with old Peter Parker. However, things get a little effed in the bee when Puma strikes while MJ is in his apartment. And he manages to get her out of the way in the nick of time and shut her out of the apartment from danger. Unfortunately, once he gets Puma out of the picture and returns, the jig is up. She knows he's Spider-Man. And apparently, she's known for some time, but she just didn't want to believe it. And to make matters worse, Black Cat, who's been hanging around and, romancing the old webhead, shows up and confirms MJ's fears for certain. Because at first she was kind of thinking, maybe I'm overthinking this, but deep down, she's always known that something wasn't right, that something was not quite above board, and this was it. But, Black Cat being there pretty much lets her know that, yeah, he's gotta be Spider-Man. No matter what he says, he is Spider-Man. And the funny thing about this is that Black Cat is doing all but saying bye, Felicia, to MJ as she storms out in tears. Made even more funny by the fact that Black Cat's name is Felicia. So, yeah, there's that. Unfortunately, this book does a weird thing where, and it's exactly at this moment, where Spidey, during an argument with Felicia where he's pretty much telling her to go away, or telling her that what they had was, not exactly what she thought, and she's trying to storm out and leave him, essentially breaking off their relationship. And he accidentally webs her. Like, he's not actually trying to. He accidentally webs her and pulls her, back around and keeps her from leaving. And she just throws herself at him. I don't know. Because comic books in the 80s? But with all of this, everything that's going on, MJ packing her bags, Peter and Aunt May still on the outs, Robbie Robertson, who is normally Peter Parker's greatest friend, is uncharacteristically cracking down on him at the Daily Bugle because of his new position. And then we also, to make matters worse, have the return of the recently presumed dead Hobgoblin. If that wasn't the worst of it, Hobgoblin is now in league with the Rose, Richard Fisk. And they have a plan where they are trying to take down both Kingpin and Spider-Man in one fell swoop. And, of course, things aren't looking good for the wall crawler. With all of this, even still, it gets worse. If you've made it this far in the video, you're probably thinking to yourself, okay, so this black costume, it's amazing. It does all this cool stuff. Why would he give up such an amazing costume that does so much and ask for so little in return? Well, you see, the thing that starts to break down this match made in heaven is when the costume starts to adorn itself on Spidey while he's sleeping, which doesn't seem like a big deal, but Spidey starts losing entire days and nights, thinking he's been asleep while in fact he's been going out on autopilot thanks to the black costume. To the point that when he is out and about as Peter Parker, he is always tired. And this is why. People think it's just him becoming lazy, but no, he's just been out sleep fighting crime, unbeknownst to him. And to make matters worse, it's fighting against his mental commands to disrobe from him when he desires. And one of the last times we see him fall asleep, we see what's going on inside his head. We get to see his classic high school version of himself, and it's caught in the middle of a war between the black costume and his classic costume. The classic costume and the black costume, they're beating each other up and swinging each other around, and then they start tugging on Peter Parker, like it's almost like they're tearing him apart. And when he wakes up, this is when he finally realizes that something about this costume is not right. And if you read Secret Wars or you watch my video on Secret Wars, you would probably get the same idea, because the way this costume comes to him is just not normal. But this prompts Spidey to go see the Fantastic Four, so Reed Richards can study the suit that he got from Battleworld. And after Reed runs a few tests, we discover the suit is alive. A highly evolved symbiote, capable of strange and unusual powers that we've already discussed. And once Peter Parker discovers this, he tries desperately to get the suit off of him, and it won't let go because it's already mentally and physically bonded to him. So it's not wanting to let go for anything. It's got a good thing going. It's got a super-powered human under its control. And Reed Richards even discovers that it's actually trying to graft itself to his body so that it never comes off. Fortunately, Reed Richards and Human Torch quickly discover that the suit does not care for Human Torch's flame or Reed Richards' sonic rifle blast. They end up capturing the creature, and they give Spidey the classic Fantastic Four brown paper bag costume. And so if you've ever wondered, if you've ever played any of the Spider-Man video games, or just seen random Google image searches of Spider-Man costumes and seen this dude in a Fantastic Four costume with a paper bag on his head and no shoes, this is where it comes from. And it's probably one of his low points in this. Because of this, he also doesn't have his web shooter, so he has to, hoof it home, just using his basic wall crawling abilities. But he discovers that there is, a crime going on, and he tries to stop it. And even though technically he's pretty effective in this fight, the people see yet another costumed crime fighter and just assume that he's, some new guy on the scene, and it kind of freaks him out a little bit. Like, it's like, with all of this going on in the suit, that him discovering that he's been bonded to an alien this entire time, it's just a bit too much for him. Also, he's got a kick me sign on his back that you can pretty much assume the Human Torch put there. And he does the walk of shame back to his apartment. When he does, he gets a very big surprise. It's Mary Jane Watson knocking at his door. And when he gets there, I mean, she just doesn't look very happy. And you can tell that, like, she's upset and she wants to hash this whole thing out. And this is a scene where we get to see him fessing up to his secrets, like actually opening up to Mary Jane, not trying to shut her out, not trying to close her out of, the more intimate parts of his life. But now this is the road to the actual Peter Parker and Mary Jane relationship that comic book fans have been nuts about and got really pissed off about when J. Michael Straczynski did the One More Day story arc and retconned the whole thing. So, but you know what? It wouldn't be the birth of Venom if we left this on a happy note. Back at the Baxter building, the symbiote suit has been locked away in some kind of a containment unit, and it is pissed. Like, the last shot we get is the suit just like menacingly looking towards the reader, like in the guise of with the Spidey eyes and everything. So just so you know, the suit is not happy with him, not one bit. But unfortunately, we have to call it right here because the birth of Venom is a really long trade, and I don't want to keep you here all night. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna try and wrap this up in the next video. I can't promise that, but we're probably have at least 1 to 2 more videos of this, and we're going all the way till we get to Venom and all that entails. But let me know what you all think of the birth of Venom so far. What do you think about Spider-Man in the black costume? Do you think he should have kept it? Do you think he was good to get rid of it? I mean, what do you think Spider-Man would be like if he never gave it up? Sound off in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, click the like button, and if you want to see more awesome videos like this one, be sure to click subscribe so you can become one of Earth's mightiest subscribers, and tap that bell button so you know when I post up. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video, and I will see you all next time. Plus Ultra.